What's up, everybody? It's Grant from Sound Pollination. I just wanted to check in to let you guys know that you might hear a little bit of noise during this episode of the Bad Movies podcast. It's nothing to be afraid of. There was just a party going on our street right outside the studio, so a little bit of the noise spills in. But don't worry, it doesn't mess up any of the content. So get ready for the next episode of Bad Movies podcast.
What is that? What is it? Oh, no, not the beast! Not the beast!
What's up, everybody, and welcome to Bad Movies Podcast. I'm your host, Gianni. Alongside me today is the one and only Christopher Dillen Phelps. This is the part where you could say like hi, or you know, you could just keep sitting back in your chair and drinking your whiskey and.
I've never done one of these before.
So today, we are going to be talking about Transformers. The Transformers, to be precise. This is not the Michael Bay film. This is The Transformers, the movie from 1986, the animated classic. So this is going to start off the Transformers series. That's right, as this podcast is going to have a series of reviews because all of these movies are somehow all critically divisive or panned. So I get to actually have a series now, and you're the start of it. So congratulations.
Ooh, yeah. Awesome.
So, the Transformers, a little bit about the Transformers, the movie. It has a 7.3 on IMDb, a 57% on Rotten Tomatoes, and a 1 out of 5 from Common Sense Media, which I only included because I didn't have like my normal pool of reviewers that reviewed this movie because I guess it was too long ago. So I was like, oh, Common Sense Media, because they had this one quote. They were like, it is an awful toy commercial in disguise. I was like, nice, that's appropriate.
Yeah, I hope they feel clever.
So, before we get into it, Phelps, full disclosure.
Yeah.
I'm going full disclosure on you right now.
Okay.
I need to rely on you for this review because I have basically never seen the television series that this movie is based on. Because I remember, so when we decided we were going to do this, I was like, oh, I should go back and watch the first two seasons because I know that this takes place like directly after the first two seasons or whatever. Yeah. But then I was like, no, you know what? It would be way more fun to have you, the Transformers super nerd, tell me everything that happened, and I could just review the movie just as the movie. So I need you to fill in all of the gaps because I have no idea what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, no, that's not a problem.
Okay.
Not a problem at all.
Yeah. All right. So, do you want to do like a spoiler warning here, or what's the deal? We about to dive in?
Yeah, if you want. I mean, like, I will say something about IMDb, excuse me, and any of the online like Metacritic and all those. I think there needs to be an asterisk for movies made before a certain date because it just doesn't apply to the. Like, I mean, you've got hundreds of film critics now throughout digital media. Yeah. And when a new movie comes out, there's this huge broad spectrum of critics. And like going back before a certain date, before media and internet took over everything, then like you have a handful of old school movie critics and there's no fair comparison.
That's true.
Like it's not an even playing field.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even think Ebert reviewed this movie. I tried to find it, but all I kept coming across was just the Michael Bay movies. Yeah. But yeah, no, you're totally right. Is that like there is a certain line where all of a sudden these reviewers or like these what's the word I'm looking for, like compilation of reviews sites started to like become a thing, and it wasn't until like really the internet. But yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying. So it's a little inaccurate. It's a little cheap. This is probably even still the best reviewed movie that I've brought on this podcast so far.
Well, no, it should be. It should be.
And it's pretty sick. I mean, so wait, so let's so spoiler warning here. Spoiler warning. If you haven't seen Transformers the movie, the animated classic from 1986, cult classic, I think fair to say, then please pause this podcast, come back to us after you've watched it. All right, spoiler warning's out there. So, Phelps, please tell us the plot description of this film.
Okay, so you essentially what you need to know is you have two factions of living robots from a planet called Cybertron, which is an all-metal planet inhabited by all-metal things.
Is Cybertron alive? Because there's like one part in the movie where it like kind of alludes to it being like a living entity as well.
Cybertron, you could kind of think there later on.
Okay.
Much later on, because there's so many different directions that Transformer canon, like.
Because there's dinosaurs.
You start going into like Marvel Comics continuity, IDW continuity.
Yeah.
The Japanese cartoon after the U.S. cartoon kind of stopped. Like there's many different ways and many different ideas that happen later on. So I mean, Cybertron. All we need to know is that Cybertron is their home world.
Okay.
And it's inhabited by these living robots. There's two factions. There's the Autobots and there's the Decepticons. And if you look at the two, you notice that like the Autobots are all like cars and trucks and a boombox and a microscope and like all these friendly things. And then you got like the Decepticons are machines of war.
Yeah.
And it's
tanks.
It's like there's a bunch of F-15s. There's guns. There's construction equipment. The guys are like, it's classic 1980s cartoon and toys where it's like the bad guys are severely overpowered, and the good guys are in a position where they have to really punch up.
Yeah, there's like that moment towards the end where like Hot Rod just keeps turning into a car and like running over what is it, Galvatron? And he just keeps like hitting him with his car or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, this would have been so much faster if he just had that cannon that Galvatron used to kill Starscream in like 2 seconds. But they're always against like insurmountable odds. But that's kind of like the charm of this movie, I guess.
Yeah.
And also like the heartbreak of this movie.
Yeah.
So why are they fighting? Because that's really what I did not understand. I was just kind of like, okay, I'm going with it. They're at odds. They're at war.
And honestly, in the beginning of the cartoon series and the comic book, it was like, these guys are at war. And it's like let's go. That's all we needed back then. We were like, okay, these guys are bad and these guys are good.
Yeah.
And they showed it to us pretty quick. Like I think the intro to the 80s series is a 3-part episode.
Okay.
I mean like I've seen the complete US run a couple of times, but I think it's like a 3-part series where it's like a really really quick introduction, and then it's like they crash landed here, and then 4 million years later, a volcanic eruption wakes them up, and it's go time.
Great.
And then they pick up the war right where they left off. Like they were all wrecked, and they were all kind of in this stasis. Mm-hmm. And then a volcanic eruption happens, and their ship wakes up, and it's 4 million years later. It's 1986, or 1984. And
so I didn't even really miss much by jumping in just at this movie. They're just sleeping the whole time.
No. That's the
intro.
That's the introduction to the series. What you saw was the Autobots had kind of kicked their asses.
Okay.
And kind of were trying to get Cybertron and Earth in order. But the Decepticons never stay down. It's always one of those, I'll get you next time.
Yeah, classic.
Yeah.
So they're after him in this movie.
Yeah, and in the movie, I mean, you saw the movie. That's 1986. That first...
Yeah, please tell me your reaction.
That first 15 minutes of animation, if you haven't seen it and you appreciate art and you appreciate, filmmaking of any kind, watch that animation. It's far better than it deserves to be.
Yeah, like, it's crazy good.
So much detail. I mean, like, it just holds up today so well. I mean, the rest of the movie is beautiful too. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, the inks are just, they're brilliant.
Well, I guess this is probably a good time to mention that, like, you work for Decider.com and you do all the artwork for that website.
Yeah, I'm the digital editorial designer.
See, so I brought in an actual aficionado this time My other guests. Not that they're not good at what they do, but you actually, so you're a fair critic of artwork kind of thing. So fair person to judge.
I will say this: I went to animation school.
Wow. Okay.
I went to animation school, and my thesis was on character design and character modeling.
Well, excuse the fuck out of me. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. The artwork in this film is really fucking good. Okay, so let's just get into like the positives of the movie first.
Yeah, you're really gonna have to direct me on this.
Oh, I got you.
I'll talk in tangents all over the fucking
I got
place.
you, man.
All
You're my sixth episode. This ain't no fucking rodeo. Okay, I've been around the block literally 5 times. That's about it. But still, 5 times better than no times. All right. So positives first. Mm-hmm. The positives. Okay, so I got a few things written down. Okay, my first 2 kind of lead into each other. Mm-hmm. My first big one though is this movie broke my goddamn heart. Okay, I text
because
you.
Because you're a human. And you bleed blood and feel emotions.
I texted you right after. So it was already sad enough that Optimus was like on the table, but as soon as Optimus gives his fucking, what is it called? The energy matrix. You already cried.
The matrix of leadership.
Yeah, dude, he gives the fucking matrix of leadership to like, I guess his like good friend, what is it, Magnus?
His war buddy, Ultra Magnus.
God damn, man, that's a fucking sad scene.
And what's crazy is like Optimus, even when he's dying, is the eternal optimist and giver of wisdom.
Yeah.
Where he's like, don't grieve.
Oh my god, dude, it's sad. It's so fucked up. And Hot Rod just feels all the guilt.
Yeah.
Just because he blew it. Hot Rod blew it. Judd Nelson blew it.
Judd Nelson, you
goddamn motherfucker. But still, no, dude, that scene, I literally wrote in my notes, I was like, this isn't fun anymore. I was like, this is a sad fucking movie. I was like going around with it like I normally do with these like movies or whatever, and I'm just like, do. But that scene hit, and I was like, okay, shit, this is a really real fucking fucking film over here.
Geared towards 7-year-olds.
Wait, so you gotta talk. So you saw this movie in theaters? You told me.
Yeah, I saw it in the dollar theater, the cheap theater.
Whoa.
I didn't grow up rich.
What? What was that? What was that like though? Because you saw literally your idol die at what, 7 or however the fuck old you are.
Yeah, no, it was kids everywhere crying. It was kids everywhere crying, and in the theater, everyone was sobbing.
Jesus Christ.
And it was moms just pissed off. I mean, word of mouth killed this movie.
Really?
After opening, word of mouth killed the movie.
I didn't actually look up what it made back.
Because the animation team was so close to the Japanese and American productions. I mean, it was a Hasbro Marvel production.
Yeah.
Like it was all the same voice acting, all the same characters, all the same design. It wasn't like Masters of the Universe where they tried to put a new spin on it. This was just the big movie version of the series. So it was a smooth transition into it. It was an easy grand slam. Mm-hmm. It should have been dominating that year in the box office.
But people heard about all of the people that got killed.
But
and
your entire first 2 season buddies just get slaughtered.
Smoked. Just smoked.
In not subtle ways.
Yeah, brutally. I mean, like, okay, so I didn't really, like, I'll talk about this when we get to, like, the negative points of the movie or whatever, but I didn't really, like, have an affinity for many of the characters or whatever. But the significant few that I did have, like, I knew of some characters. I knew of Optimus Prime. He's a fucking badass also. He's only in like 15 minutes of the movie, but he's a fucking monster.
Yeah.
Awesome, dude. He's so cool. They have that one song. Oh, what the fuck is that song?
You Got the Touch?
Yeah, You Got the Touch. And he like turns into the truck, man. He's so fucking badass.
Oh, it's like
so great.
Because as soon as that scene came on, every kid was like, oh, Optimus is back? Shit's about to get real.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
But then we didn't know how real it was gonna get because
too real.
When he comes in and he always leveled the playing field because he was always, he was the best Autobot.
Well, he smokes 3 Decepticons just
Right off the bat.
Off the bat.
When he does that jump up transformation, we'd never seen him do that before. By the way, with
Really?
the
That was the
jets.
first time that
Well,
happened?
they never put that much detail into it in the series because
Oh,
the
shit.
series is. Whenever you do TV animation, it's always a little bit more clunky
Because they have to do it faster.
because they have to do it faster.
They have to
They're
get it
usually doing they're doing like 12 frames usually around instead of 24 frames a second. So
Okay.
it's always clunkier. It's always different. But when he jumped up into the air and the boosters shot out and he transformed and he pulled his gun out at the same time and
Sick as
just
fuck.
starts laying waste to bad guys. You're going, yeah!
Yeah, just ape shit. Nuts.
And he's. Can I go into Optimus for a second?
Yeah, dude. I don't...
This is a rant I go on Twitter, Tumblr, and Facebook sometimes.
Oh, here we go. Okay. Buckle up.
So, if you look at a lot of 80s, 80s cartoons or TV shows geared for youngsters that have a team attached to them, there's this trope of the young leader, and he always has to go through his Jungian hero's journey, and we always have to go with him, and he always fucks up all the time, and we always have to live his fuck ups, and it affects the team. But I respect that because a leader is honestly, it's a shitty role because you have to make decisions that are going to affect everyone.
Right.
And whether it's a good decision or a bad decision, the decision needs to be made. And that's a fundamental thing you learn in any kind of leadership class. Like when I was in the Marine Corps and you become an NCO and you become a sergeant in Marines, it's like you got to make a decision. Whether it's a good decision or a bad decision doesn't matter. You have to execute on a decision. It's going to affect the people around you. So when you had like Lion-O, Leonardo, Cyclops, even Blossom from the Powerpuff Girls, Rick Grimes, take any of those people. They're very divisive, I should say. You're going to have half the crowd love them, half the crowd are going to hate them.
Yeah.
And it's always that leader. But everyone loves the Raphael, the Wolverine, the badass, right?
The Buttercup.
Very good. Panthro.
Nah, we can keep going all day. I'm not gonna get tired of that.
There's these archetypes that people love because they don't take any nonsense. They execute. It's sometimes selfish.
Okay.
Because they're not thinking about the big picture, but they execute immediately and they get shit done. People like that. But the leader is, as the leader grows and makes the decisions, you're always going to fucking hate them. Or love them. Depends. This was not the case with Optimus Prime.
Why is that?
Because here's my theory, here's my spiel, and this is my opinion. If you don't agree with it, that's totally cool. I love difference of opinions on this. But by the time we meet Optimus Prime, he's led a rebellion, been a general in a war for, I don't know, 1,000,000 years. Because we don't exactly know.
Robot lifespan eternal. That's all they
because
really care about.
we know that by the time the movie comes out, it's been 4 million years they've been at war. Mm-hmm. So I don't know exactly how long he was actually active.
Right.
But he's gone through his I'm growing into this role fuck ups, and everything he says is from a place of wisdom and guidance. And the thing that's so cool about Optimus, I think, and why he was pretty much universally loved, was because he was always coming from this pure, positive, I'm strong but understanding kind of place. Mm-hmm. He was never aggressive. He always gave everyone the benefit of the doubt to his own,
Demise.
Misfortune, whatever.
Yeah, he gives Megatron that little hesitation.
And it's in his nature. The only reason why Megatron had a chance is because Optimus is so good.
No, but I get what you're saying though. Is that he's not a guy that had to learn the ropes. This is a guy who's already done that. He's already been through all of the Rick Grimes phase that we see now in The Walking Dead. He's been through it. Mm-hmm. He's now at the place where he's like, I know the answers. Like like this wise fucking sage old badass. I mean, a universal hero.
Yeah, no, he really is. And you think most of the time when you try to execute that, it's going to fail because it's going to be boring.
Yeah.
But there was this admiration for Optimus, and it still exists today, which is why, like, it's amazing. He's the most popular Transformer, for the most part, across the toys, the series, and the movies. But he's the leader. That never happens. Like, you never have the leader of the group stay that popular, be that popular, and that loved. And it worked for him. And I think it was because he does come from a place where it's, you know, he's strong enough to be caring.
Yeah.
He's not just some idiot, you know, full of bravado and trying to be tough. He's not trying to do anything because he knows exactly what he's capable of.
Right.
He knows exactly what needs to be done. And he's not trying to be hard. He's actually trying to do the right thing. He's just hard as fuck. But yeah, so
that's it. I definitely get that. I get all of that. I mean, I even not having seen the series, I still feel that. That totally resonates with me. I'm with you on that. I think that okay, so like bleeding into my next positive point about this movie, like so the Optimus Prime death, like just as a scene, I think is like perfect. You all right? You choking over there? But so like that death scene is perfect. What's so cool about it is that it's one of many like bold decisions that this film goes for, and they make some fucking bold decisions. They kill like a whole moon or something in the first scene.
Oh yeah,
it's a whole thing. They fuck them up, and there's like people dying left and right. There was who does he give the I'm gonna say Allspark. That's a fucking Michael Bay thing. Wait, who does he give the Matrix of Leadership to again?
To Ultra Magnus.
Ultra Magnus. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Let me just work this out. I do not know what happened.
Choking on whiskey, man. It happens.
Something like that.
Trick of the trade. But so he gives the Allspark. He gives the Matrix of Leadership.
The Matrix of Leadership
to Magnus, and then Magnus fucking dies. But then Magnus is brought back. But whatever. But like there's just bold decisions being made.
Voiced
left and
by
right.
Robert Stack.
Who did?
Well, back in the black and white days, he did the original Untouchables. He was kind of the gangster squad guy.
Tight.
But he also did Unsolved Mysteries for years. He was the guy in a trench coat for Unsolved Mysteries.
Really?
Yeah, that's Robert Stack.
I actually had no idea that was the guy. Okay, but cool. But
Yeah.
so I kind of recognize his voice though. That actually makes a lot of sense. Now I have to go back and watch it again. But fuck. But so anyway, but there's like bold decisions being made left and right in this movie.
Yeah.
And it's like,
No one does this with a property. No one does this with a licensed property.
no, I mean they're like, look, they're about to do it with these fucking these Avenger films. But like it's taken them how many movies just to build up to it to get the courage?
Yeah, no, it's 10 years.
Everybody's scared shitless. And you know what? They're gonna bring him back again. It's the death and return of Superman syndrome all over again. They're gonna bring him back at some point. It's like Tony Stark's, oh, he's alive. Wow. But like the point is that, and I'm not saying that killing characters automatically makes a film good, but the bold choices they do take with this movie, they're all like in service of like the bold deaths and shit. They're all in service of other characters. Like even Starscream's death is like really just to show like how much more badass Galvatron is than Megatron was.
Oh, yeah.
It's totally like it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, you take the throne, goodbye, that's it, and he just dusts him in like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying is like all of these like kicking down these old action figures, putting up the new ones or whatever, and it is like a sort of a negative as well.
Oh,
We'll get to that.
That's exactly what they needed to do.
But yeah, they did it in the right way, and it's fucking ballsy, man.
Well, I shouldn't say it's what they needed to do. That was their plan.
Yeah.
Because they were like, we made these toys for 2 years. We need new properties to put on the shelves because the American kids will get bored with buying the same old toys.
Yeah.
So the whole purpose of that movie was to kill off your toy line so that they could stock shelves with new toys, new characters, and have the kids buy them. But, I mean, ultimately what they didn't count on was how attached these kids were to Optimus and his core group.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what, like, going back to what you said earlier, what you think tanked the movie or whatever in the box office. Word of mouth just swept the nation.
Exactly.
And everybody was like, nah, I don't want to see my favorite character die.
No, like, even, like, I think growing up, like, I loved Optimus. Hands down, he was awesome. Ultra Magnus, I always really, really liked, just because he was always like, Prime, I'm just a soldier. I can't lead. And like, Ultra Magnus knows exactly what he's good at. And he's like, I can shoot motherfuckers. But
Going out in the blaze of glory, man. That's all he's there for. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just really, really interesting. You know, the urban legend is that the reason why the beginning of G.I. Joe, the animated movie, happens the way that it does and the way that it ends with the whole Flint and Duke thing is because you think, I forget whether it's Flint or Duke that gets shot in the beginning with some Cobra weapon.
I thought it was Flint.
It might be Flint. I mean, I've seen that movie a number of times, but I wasn't as into G.I. Joe.
Yeah, same.
The reason, the rumor is, the reason why he lives at the end is because what they saw happen with Transformers and Optimus Prime.
They did not want that word.
They didn't want it. I mean, that's a Hasbro property.
Yeah.
So, like, Hasbro was like, we can't take G.I. Joe 2.
I can't do that again. Can't go through it again. Yeah, no, I'm that makes a lot of sense to me. I respect the shit out of it, honestly. I think that it's way cooler to, way more heartbreaking, way more impactful to kill Prime, not bring him back.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Like, if you grew up watching the series, you watch these 2 years worth of shows or 2 seasons worth of the show, you walk into the movie, you see all these like very definitive hard deaths.
Yeah.
These are deaths with a capital D. There's no sleight of hand. There's no bringing them back. And they wanted to make them definitive, so you buy the new toys. Like when Megatron and the crew bust into the Autobot ship.
Yeah.
And they
do they kill
Brawn. I think Prowl, Ratchet, and I forget who else is on board that ship.
Those are like
those
big
are
characters.
Main characters
Really?
that always roll with Prime.
Really?
And Prowl
I
is
didn't know
this.
that.
Prowl's like this strategist, like hardcore genius. Like he's a badass. He gets shot in the chest, and then like smoke comes out of his eyes and mouth, and he turns gray and kind of melts and collapses. And you're like,
Well, no, okay, but that's the perfect segue, right, to my next point,
Okay.
which we already talked about a little bit. Like, the art is just beautiful. The art style is beautiful. The hand-drawn stuff, it's all really, really good. I love, like, the subtle touch of, like, within the art style that it makes the vibrant colors worth it. It, like, to take Optimus and turn him gray as the life drains from him is so emotionally impactful, and it's so brilliant because it makes those vibrant colors not just like we're having flashy for kids, which is what so many animated movies fall into. It makes it all mean something because it's like, this is what you're like when you're alive, and this is the gray matter that you become when you're dead. It's fucking genius.
yeah,
The art style in this movie is awesome.
yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I put it on when I need some extra inspiration to draw. I'll put it on. You know, kind of look away when Prime dies.
To keep from crying. hear it faintly in the background, just get a slow rolling tear.
It's just like I've seen this movie 25 times. It shouldn't affect me like this anymore.
I have one more like big positive here.
Yeah.
Just as someone who went into this movie blind, it had a few characters and moments that I found to be very, deeply developed and very poignant, and I was very impressed by that because and it is part of like this, like what I'm gonna get into in the negatives or whatever, but like I was very surprised to be as attached as I was to characters that I really didn't know about.
Yeah.
Hot Rod in particular.
Yeah, it's a hot rod. I grew up with kids who, to this day, like the last tattoo I got, I just happened to start talking to the guy, and as he's tattooing me, he starts revealing that he's this Transformers nerd.
Really?
And I was like, oh yeah,
Totally. Yeah.
Start talking to him about it, and like, you'll meet people to this day that hate Hot Rod
Because of what he did.
Hate him. It's like,
Because he blew it.
like I hated him when I was young. I appreciate what they did with the character, like his position in his role in this story. I appreciate that now as an adult.
It's it makes it all the more worthwhile when it has that payoff when he is Rodimus Prime or whatever that big like reveal was. It really, I thought, made it that much more worthwhile to watch this guy just be like, man, I fucked up. I gotta make up for it, Yeah. And he really like fights his way through this movie, I guess, to try to win his way back into people's hearts. And for some people, I guess it doesn't work. For me, it really worked. I was really about him.
Yeah, I mean, you look at movies different at different times in your life, and not to be too cheesy or give this movie too much weight, but I see what Rodimus was now. Yeah, much more clearly. Cut through the emotion. And it's a really cool arc. Like when you can watch it, like you said, he fights the whole movie through. Yeah. Like and reaches his full potential in the last half.
Yeah. And there's nothing more indicative of that than that scene where he's like, getting like caught up in all those tentacles and all the fucking like sharks swimming at him, and he's just cutting through. It's like, I feel like that is like a total metaphor for just like how he walks through the whole movie. Like, this guy is just working against all odds, like in terms of what he's dealing with, but in terms of like Hasbro really made him fight a battle to win his way into our hearts. And for me, it worked. It really did. And I think that anyone who shits on Hot Rod, they could have some words with me.
Yeah. I'll send him your way.
Thanks. send that tattoo guy over here.
Yeah.
But okay, so we're going into the negatives now.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So
I'll try to be objective.
You gotta be as objective as you possibly can over there. But so for every Hot Rod, I feel like there's like 3 more characters that I just don't get. Yeah. And it goes to like an overarching problem, which is like, for me, and this is also part of why I didn't want to watch the series before. It's like I wanted to see how this movie stands alone. And I think that this movie does require you to be a fan of the series a little too much. There was like, I just went into it and accepted that I wouldn't understand certain things, but there was more that I didn't understand than I even thought. And it was like, oh wow. Yeah. I really wish that I had the same connection with this, but I also wish that this movie just was able to be its own entity as well.
Yeah. And I totally get that, and I totally understand that. That's actually really interesting because I can't separate my knowledge from growing up with the series to watching the movie. Yeah. They transition so well. They're kind of like they're such seamless canon that it's hard to separate out. But I almost wish I'd seen the movie without like watching it through your eyes, because I want to hear what you didn't, what wasn't, there for you, because it almost, I don't even know how they would do a self-contained movie based on like two seasons of soap opera. Yeah. But yeah, I totally get that. I can totally see like the inner dynamics of certain characters and the significance of others, like not making sense.
Well, I didn't even know, like you were talking about how the 3 like main characters or whatever on the ship that got gunned down. I had no idea they were main characters. I was just like, oh, they're just mowing through. Yeah. It wasn't until Optimus that I was like, oh, the stakes are really that high. But I bet for you were watching it, you were like, oh my god, what the fuck is going on? Everything's out of whack.
First 15 minutes, you're like, oh man, they are going hard. They just killed like 3 dudes I really like, or 3 or 4 dudes I really like. And then you're like, wait, what? After Optimus dies, if you haven't totally checked out by then as a kid, you're like, everyone's gonna die.
But even more so than that, though, and I'm actually glad. Well, sort of glad. It's like, this isn't really a good thing. It's like, I was kind of glad that you were like, we don't really know why they're fighting. They just are fighting. That's all we needed.
Well, I mean, there's like a lot of later on backstory that was added,
Like retconned
drama.
sort of
Well,
thing.
no, I mean, like they explain things slowly throughout the series and throughout the comics, and like the comics in this series were different, diverged. Characters acted differently, had different motives.
Yeah.
And even like this is really interesting. The UK Marvel comics,
Yeah.
and the American Marvel comics treated characters differently, and they wrote different scripts. It really interesting because a lot of the times they would just, like other series, they would sometimes just ship those comics over and not do that. But like Transformers and a couple other comics got special treatment. And
They
like,
wanted their own
and they
ideas.
got their own UK Marvel Comics had their own version of Transformers, kind of.
Interesting. Because now you see that a lot, I guess, with like just different writers doing different stories. But I guess back in the day, that was probably like totally unheard of for this particular
It was a
entity.
little different. But anyway, yeah, there was explanations in the series. I forget what season they took place, but I think it's after the movie in third, maybe fourth season. You remember the Quintessence? I think that was their name.
No, I don't.
The crazy guys, the old robots that had the multi faces and there were judges.
Oh,
and they were like,
yeah.
They were like
Innocent, and then killed them anyway.
Feed him to the Shockticons. We find out that race, I believe, invented or created the whole race of living robots.
Really?
Yeah, but their creators become their ultimate enemies. Both sides. It's really interesting, really weird. And I forget, and I mean, like, I need to go back. Third and fourth season, I've only seen a couple times years ago. So I'm sorry, guys, I'm not as up on it. And then, like, I've only seen the Japanese continuations, like,
Right.
a couple times. Because
only
Ultra Magnus actually dies in the Japanese continuation of the cartoon series.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, not over that one either, guys. Assholes. But anyway, yeah. So later on, we get explanations on what was happening, but it's a slow like fill in.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, in the beginning, it was the rare case where, yeah, these guys are fighting, go with it, that worked.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the times that doesn't work.
Yeah. I feel that. I appreciate you pointing out that like it's very easily identifiable, and it's not just like red lightsaber versus blue lightsaber to show it. It's like these guys are cars, these guys are tanks, and that's like the subtle clue in where it's like, okay, I see the forces of evil, I see the forces of good. I'm able to identify those things without having it to be as obvious as just like a color scheme or something like that.
Yeah.
Megatron's not red and Optimus Prime is blue. You know what I mean? It's nothing like that.
I mean, honestly, like I don't want to go off on another tangent.
Go for it. Please do.
But I mean, the Hasbro guys that went over to Japan to license stuff just saw Takara's toys, and Tomy Takara saw these Diaclone toys, saw all these the Microman toys, saw all these different toys, and we're like, we want to buy these, and we're gonna license them, and all this other shit. And at first, the Japanese companies were like, you want to do what? Well, maybe we'll let you use these. And they're like, no, we want to buy these from you. All of them. And they're like, okay. And so, I mean, they started buying up just anything that transformed that was a robot from these Japanese companies at these toy fairs.
Wait, so they didn't all exist under like one title before?
Here's the thing. There was no coherent story. There was nothing going on. Like Japanese kids, evidently, you show them a toy and they're good to play with it. They don't need a narrative presented before them.
Tight.
They don't need like the constant bombardment of ads on like what the possibilities
It's all in the imagination.
could be. Like Evidently, they're much more chill and imaginative than U.S. kids. U.S. kids, you need to fucking pump them up full of sugar a Saturday morning and be like, "These are awesome!" and flashing lights and be like, "You can do this with these robots," and get them all hyped for it. No, Japanese kids were like, "Oh, these are really cool. I'm gonna play with these." And the other thing was like, you don't have to update as often, evidently, in the Japanese toy market back then.
Right.
Anyway, so the output for new characters wasn't as quick, which is one of the reasons, which was one of the problems with like getting that killing off the characters so they could get the 86 toy line out there.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, but that goes into my next negative, though, right? So I think that hearkening all the way back to that quote from Common Sense Media, right? That clever fucking dig. But there is some truth to it because some of the movie does feel like a cheap excuse to sell more toys, and I'm really just talking about like there's like a few scenes or whatever, but it's like mostly it's motivated by story. The one scene that's really like, oh man, cringe in regards to this is like Galvatron's introduction, where it's like you are now Galvatron. He's like, I am, and then it's like, and these are all your friends. He's like, then it's like this guy does this. He's like, wow, this is cool, and they each have like their own like cool like shot pose in space. I'm like, oh man.
I think they may have used that whole sequence in the commercial for those toys.
That's bad, man. That's bad. That's fucked up. That's horrible.
And I will say that criticism is 100% warranted. But here's the deal with 80s animation that if you didn't know it, everything that aired on Saturday morning cartoons and after school cartoons in the 80s was funded by toy companies. Mattel, and here it was crazy. Hasbro and Mattel and Kenner pretty much funded all animation in the 80s.
Fuck. Okay.
It is absolutely insane.
So they were just trying to figure out new ways to sell. That's all it really was.
Yeah, all it was give it a half-hour-long commercial.
But you know what though? They had a good writing team though, clearly for this, because it's not at all without merit. I mean, it's just that's one poor example of what what I think is an actual like really great story. And I'm going back here really quick because I don't think that I mentioned who wrote it, and usually I do that. So the director is Nelson Shin, and the writer is Ron Friedman. Just so we're all clear.
Yeah.
But
what else did Friedman do?
So Friedman also wrote Fantastic Four from 1994, the animated.
Oh, okay.
And something called Sledgehammer, which looks like a show. The Danny Kane Show. I don't know if you're familiar with any of these. Oh, he wrote Iron Man, the animated series, some of the episodes.
So he was still probably working for Marvel Productions.
G.I. Joe the movie.
Yeah.
There you
He
go.
was working for Hasbro.
There
Marvel.
you fucking go.
Yeah, he's working for Marvel Hasbro.
It all comes full circle, baby.
Yeah.
But
I mean, like, if you're a kid of the 80s, here's the thing. You owe so much. Like, I love DC. I grew up reading both. I'm not one of those guys who is like...
You didn't pick a side.
I didn't pick a side. I just kind of picked whatever I did off the shelf at the comic book store.
Yeah.
But if you're a fan of pop culture of the 80s, you owe a lot to Marvel and their writing team. Because...
They gave Transformers a story.
They gave Transformers its entire story.
That's fucking crazy. See, I had no idea.
They took toys and they were like, "Man, you're a good guy, you're a bad guy," and then they wrote the whole Bible.
But the genius of just coming up with like Decepticons versus Autobots and that whole fucking backstory and like making them teams.
This is Jim Starling, man. The dude was underappreciated.
Wow.
No, he gets a lot of appreciation. I just really like him because I was a Marvel fan in the 80s.
Deserves more appreciation.
Yeah. Also, I mean, if you like G.I. Joe at all, that was essentially came out of one Marvel meeting. like Hasbro did it again. They were like, we're bringing back G.I. Joe. Except they're really small dolls now instead of the 12-inch dolls. And it's like, we need a story. And Marvel was like, okay, who are they fighting? And they're like, we don't have a bad guys. And Marvel was like, Jesus Christ. So, I mean, like, Larry Hama, one of my favorite Wolverine writers, he also wrote this 80s cartoon, Cops. Fighting crime in the future time was the tagline for that one.
Nice.
It was another toy commercial that was great.
Classic. Doesn't sound 80s at all.
Yeah. But anyway, Larry Hama was like, okay, I'll do this. And he essentially, he created the entire Bible for what we know, the G.I. Joe.
He did the G.I. Joe.
Yeah, he did. He just did. He was like, okay, this is G.I. Joe.
But wait, didn't you have a cool... Because I remember you telling me a cool story about Cobra or whatever.
Yeah,
Can you just say that real quick? Because I love that story.
Yeah,
It's so fucking funny.
Cobra came out of one of those meetings. You can look all this up online. There's multiple sources. There's on Amazon Prime, I think there's like this series of really short interviews with Larry Hama. And evidently it was like, we don't have anybody for these guys to fight. And Marvel was like, well, I mean, we've got this bad organization called Hydra. Their emblem is like a Hydra head, kind of snake-like octopus. And he's like, how about Cobra? Does Cobra work for you? It's kind of serpenty. And they're like, yeah, that sounds great.
Brilliant. That's all it takes, man.
It's just,
That's all it takes.
you're like, what?
Gotta run with it. Hey, it's fucking iconic now.
Yeah,
Cobra's,
no, it really.
And those
really.
are the best ones, too. You got all the best characters on fucking Cobra. God damn, man. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I
So
love that story.
like Marvel Productions, before it was Marvel Entertainment, before all that, they used to do this stuff. And if you wanted to make a toy successful, you would have a comic book associated with it and a cartoon associated with it.
Because that's what the kids are gonna.
Because that's where the kids are going
watch
to be.
and buy.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so you hit them on the comic book front, and you hit them on the cartoon front, and you nail them with commercials. So they're bombarded all the time.
Now you need an app and a TV show
Now,
and
there's
Bryan
another-
Cranston in the
No,
lead.
there's oversaturation of content. Our little brains can't even handle what's happening around us right now. It's
Yeah, man.
saturated constantly.
I got one more actual negative, and then
Yeah.
one that's not really a negative. But so the one more actual negative that I have is like the ending is really abrupt and inconclusive. And again, it kind of goes back to the other thing where it's like, you do need to be a fan of the series. But, like, also the ending is like, you need to be a fan of the series because we want you to keep watching the show. And I was like, shit. I wanted to see the aftermath. Like, I wanted to see how people dealt with because there's some fucked up shit that happens in this movie. And I wanted to see just, like, even if it's just one moment. But, like, this is mega spoilers for Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Did you see Guardians? You saw Guardians of the Galaxy. Okay, but, the funeral. I wanted that. I wanted that moment. I just wanted that moment of catharsis where, like, Hot Rod is actually, like, I understand everything you were trying to teach me now, and, like, I'm going to try to be the leader that you were to us. I just wanted one moment, even if it's just as simple as that, or it could be as great as, like we have to rebuild from, like, this place, or, like, the Decepticons are still out there. We have to, like, stand up and fight. We have to go after them. Just anything. But just, I wanted something more conclusive than... Okay, we killed Orson Welles and we're out of here. That's it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just cuts to black, and I felt empty. I was like, damn, I wanted to care more.
Yeah.
Just at the end.
No, that's fair. I totally see that. That's fair. I think they went with the old, like, instead of going with a more nuanced approach, I think they went with the old
And,
Roger Corman adage where it's like, once a monster is dead, the movie's over. It's
End on a high,
Yeah.
But it was just like, man, your high was Optimus Prime dying. You had
Yeah.
to get higher than that otherwise. Otherwise, give me that conclusion.
No, I honestly, I think you're right. I think, I think you're right. If we had a moment, probably where Rodimus comes to terms or realizes, I guess everyone else realizes what has gone on, has seen what Rodimus has done, and Rodimus is okay with it, and Rodimus reaches his self-realization, and, like, there had been that moment where he talks about it and lets us kids know. Like it might have been a little better for us.
I also think though that would have helped too with the people enjoying that character.
Yeah.
Or, people not hating him as much.
Yeah.
I think if there was that cathartic moment, I think that people would have looked more fondly. Oh, I just hit the microphone. People would have looked more fondly on that. I think, but what do I
Maybe.
know?
Yeah.
The only other thing I got. This is not a negative because I do think that it ends up canceling itself out. I wanted to hate all of the music choices because I thought they were so 80s, but so many of them are awesome that
No.
I couldn't do it. I loved them too much.
Are you fucking kidding me? How can you not? They're all, as the kids say, jammers. Are you kidding me? That is an epic. Like
You got the touch.
you got the touch. You got the touch actually charted.
No way.
Oh yeah,
That's awesome.
That soundtrack fucking rocked. That. I mean, Weird Al has a track on that. Like,
Really? I
yeah.
didn't even notice that.
Dude, when they're on the Junker Planet.
Fuck.
Dude, that whole soundtrack is epic. You can get it on vinyl right now. It's delicious. Honestly, that soundtrack.
I'm telling
I mean, there's
you.
no question when you're like, oh, what years did this movie take place in? You're instantly dated.
Yeah, like
But
the
you know
second
what?
it starts, you're like mid-80s.
Yeah, it's fucking charming as fuck.
Oh my god, yeah, dude. It won me over. I'm telling you, I wanted to hate it, and I couldn't. I just couldn't. I couldn't find it in myself.
I need more whiskey. Can I get more whiskey?
Yeah.
Papa needs his medicine.
Okay.
It's for pain management, Gianni.
Sure, man. Sure.
Jesus.
Okay. All right. Speed round.
All right.
Speed round. So this is when
shit.
I'm gonna ask you a thing.
Okay.
You just gotta rattle it off as quick as you possibly can. Favorite moments or quotes? You need 3. Go.
I thought you were made of sterner stuff. Dude, when Optimus Prime says that to Megatron, I was like, you're a bitch, Megatron! Optimus is gonna fuck you up!
Okay. You need 2 more.
2 more?
Yeah, you need 2 more.
Oh, when Ultra Magnus goes, I can't lead Prime, I'm just a soldier.
Classic.
I love that one. And then probably anything Blaster says throughout that movie.
Wait, which one?
Blaster is the boombox. That's the Autobot.
Okay.
And he's like sending the signal off to Optimus and Cybertron that they're getting pounded over at the. I forget his direct quote, but he's like, we're taking a pounding. You better get down here. Anything Blaster says throughout that movie is hilarious.
You know who was my favorite? Was fucking. I guess his name is Blur. He just talks really fast all the time.
The Micro Machine Man. He used to do the Micro Machine commercials when we were kids.
Really?
They competed with Hot Wheels, and his whole thing was like, "I'm the Micro Machine Man. Like, blah, 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 blah. Look at this car. It's tiny, tiny, tiny. Blah, 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 blah." And he used to go through the commercial and do it super fast.
Holy shit! And then they just brought him over.
They brought him over and do Blur. I actually have another super favorite one. And I can't believe I didn't say this right off the bat. It's when Starscream is getting his inauguration ceremony or whatever you want to call it. His coronation.
It's coronation.
His coronation. And Galvatron goes, "This is bad theater." Oh, it's so good.
Dude, Starscream just gets shit on the whole
It's
fucking
like,
movie, man.
Here's a hint.
But also, I wrote in my notes, I was like, man, Starscream just has no loyalty. Not at all. What a piece of shit.
I mean, look at Soundwave, man.
Soundwave is awesome.
My favorite bad guy of all time.
He's
And I know
so
that's
sick.
a basic binge answer. If you're in this Transformers world, like, everyone loves Soundwave.
Yeah.
But there's a reason why. It's because Soundwave was like an evil Spock.
Because you are inferior, Soundwave superior.
Exactly. like he was like an evil Spock, like to Kirk. The Megatron Soundwave is like a weird, evil Kirk and Spock relationship where Spock was very, very logical, and Megatron's very emotional, kind of, for a robot. It's weird, and he would do these things, but no matter how illogical he was, Soundwave always had his back. Undying loyalty.
Yeah.
Kind of like how Spock would be like, I don't fully understand you, human Kirk, but you are my commanding officer, and I will do what you tell me to do.
Yeah.
Kind of that relationship.
What you see it in this movie too, because isn't there like that it's like a one-off
When
line
he's
where Megatron's like stay with me or whatever, and
Yeah,
someone leaves,
he's
and then
dying.
he's like Soundwave
Megatron-
stay,
yeah.
and Soundwave's like okay.
Megatron's dying, and he goes, Soundwave, don't leave me. And he goes, as you wish, or whatever.
Yeah, whatever the
And he
fuck.
scoops him up. And
Yeah.
he takes him to Astro Train.
Soundwave's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Soundwave's so cool. Soundwave's probably
I
probably my
still
favorite.
function.
okay. I just had like three notes that I took while I was doing it. I just want to read them off to you.
Yeah.
See what you think. Okay. So I said the first time you got the touch was dope. Second time, little whack. Just want to throw it out there. Second time when it's hot rod, Rodimus Prime, it's a little weird.
That's Gianni.
got the
That's
touch.
for the kids so they can associate him with being a prime.
You got the
Because we
touch.
introduce Optimus to that music, and then when we see Rodimus come full circle, we introduce the music again. Get it?
Yeah, but see, if Rodimus was cool, turning into a cool ass fucking truck, I would have bought it. Unfortunately, Rodimus just stands there kind of for a second,
Yeah.
and then he kind of transforms like a little bit, but just into like a bigger Rodimus.
No, he just gets beefy.
And I was, yeah, he just bulks up.
It's the power of a prime.
Yeah, he just goes through winter and he just eats nothing but protein for a little bit. I was like, this is a little weird.
He gets a trailer too later. Like
Oh yeah.
he get like evidently when you become a prime, you can pull a trailer.
Yeah, all of a sudden you're not a Hot Wheels car anymore. You're not a hot rod. You're a fucking truck.
Yeah.
Okay, I got another one. Okay, the blackouts that they like insert between certain scenes is basically like you could have a commercial here, but I was like, but it's a movie. Why the fuck do they have these? And they have them all over the place too. I was like, this is just made for TV, but then they decided, let's have it in theaters.
I think if you look at a lot of 80s,
They went
a
through
lot
that.
of not even just 80s animation, if you look at like a lot of 80s editing, evidently that was a thing.
Yeah, why?
It's not my favorite choice.
Yeah. The one last one I had here, I was like, I made myself laugh with this. This is stupid.
I thought you were clever.
But I was like, Galactus, Unicron is pretty powerful, huh?
Yeah, no. Marvel production? Yeah.
Huh,
Yeah.
gee, golly
Wonder.
jeez. They literally is. I was like,
you're
oh,
eating-
he eats planets.
You insatiable hunger, you're eating planets? I gotcha. Yeah.
But I will say, Orson Welles' voice is fucking dope. Oh my god.
Last
sick.
movie, I believe.
Yeah, it was his last ever movie. I read like a little thing that was like, well, I read a couple things. One, he didn't like this movie apparently, but I mean, he was about to go out. But then the other thing was that he was like really ill at the time, and so apparently they really synthesized his voice a lot. So it's kind of like his voice, but it's not really. But I thought the choice was awesome because his voice sounds fucking dope.
Oh,
Unicron
yeah.
is imposing as fuck.
Yeah.
Like super scary.
Unicron is scary.
All right.
He's really scary.
Final verdict here, Phelps. I'm gonna lay it on you here. All right, so all in all, at its worst, this is an enjoyable experience that feels way too 80s and relies too heavily on its pre-existing TV show. But at its best, this is a deeply affecting, high-intensity science fiction thrill ride that puts its lead characters against insurmountable odds. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10.
I think that's more than fair. That's actually kind of generous for someone who didn't grow up with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand why it affects me so much, but I don't expect everyone to love it, but I expect you to watch it. You better watch it because I mean, no one's making cartoons for 7-year-olds like that now.
Yeah. No,
Can you
oh my
imagine?
god, not at all.
Can you imagine?
You got fucking PJ Masks, and these are just things that I've seen Matt's kid watch. That's like PJ Masks and fucking Peppa Pig. Is she still around? I don't know.
Yeah, of course Peppa's around.
Yeah, but yeah, no, you're totally right. I mean, my generation is probably like the last that had any sort of like adult themes in their fucking cartoons.
You know what I find really interesting is that I keep up with animation. I love all forms of animation. I think it's just one of those things that we need to keep doing to make the inanimate alive. I think that is one of the original definitions of animation to give life to something that's not live. It's really interesting, but there's something, and I'm not shitting on animation today. I love animation today. Things have changed, and I'm not sure exactly how or why, but in the 80s, there was this weird thing where, like, all of the main characters in the cartoons I grew up with, if you look like Inhumanoids, Centurions, Transformers, Cops, all these cartoons, all the main leads were adults, and then they would have one kid for you to identify with. But all the leads who were actually doing shit were adults, and like men with mustaches, like grown-ass dudes, like middle-aged dudes. That's who was starring in these things.
Why?
And I don't know what changed. Like it was like these are the guys who are doing things. Oh, look, there's this one kid who hangs out with all these adults. You can identify with him.
Okay.
Like and like it's just weird to look back at that. Even Mask, that was a cool one. Mask was kind of like if G.I. Joe met Transformers.
Okay.
It was these G.I. Joe type figures, but they all rode in these transforming vehicles. So you'd be driving like a car, and then the gull wings would come up and it could fly.
The car. Okay.
So that kind of thing.
Submarine cars and all that.
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
shit.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then those were all grown-ass dudes, and then they would have this kid who had this goofy little robot, and you would identify with him, but everybody who was actually doing shit was the dudes with mustaches. Like, so you had 7-year-olds always idolizing these hunky middle-aged men. I just think that's interesting and different to what you see now.
Yeah.
Where it's kids watching shows with kids in them.
Yeah. You know what? That is a cool. I think that's a cool transition. It's not that I prefer one over the other.
No. I'm not saying I prefer one over. It's just I'm like, what were we saying in the 80s? What's going on here?
We're saying that men with mustaches are in charge.
I don't know.
It's a little weird.
I don't know.
And with that, I want to thank you so much for coming on today, Phelps.
Did we do it?
Yeah, man.
Did we do the thing?
We fucking got through.
That's it?
That's it. We nailed it.
That was a lot
Do you want to plug anything while you get a chance?
Yeah, but I'm a designer by day, and then I do freelance art by night. If you want me to draw you rock and roll posters or do any marketing art for you, just hit me up. Gianni, I guess, can put my information on the thing.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and also I got t-shirts, shirts, or edit that. I got shirts, bags, prints. I got stickers, buttons, bookmarks, all kinds of shit for you to buy. It's at Store Envy. Look up Dillen 3D or Dillen Danger. I forget what it is. Gianni will put the link on there.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. Buy my shit is what I'm saying.
All right, man. Thank you so much, dude. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Bad Movies Podcast. If you like this, you can follow us on Twitter at Bad Movies Cast. Feel free to tweet at me and give me any bad movie suggestions you'd like to see on the show. You could also follow up on Sound Pollination at www.soundpollination.com. Keep up with us and what we're doing. We're excited to be launching a bunch of cool shit in the coming weeks and months. Thank you very much for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Quick segue. Hey, do you like movies? Because boy, oh boy, have I got the fucking thing for you. We at Sound Pollination are affiliated with Atom Tickets. AtomTickets.com. Super fucking easy to navigate. I have MoviePass and I still use Atom Tickets. So if you go through our link, probably in the description below, probably on our website, probably on both, honestly, I wouldn't know. At the time of recording this, I'm just gonna say that they're on both of them. Okay, so anyway, if you want to buy a ticket to a movie, go to our website or go to the link below. Click on it. Atom Tickets. That's the way to go. Super easy to navigate. Like I said,
I have Movie Pass. I still use Atom Tickets because sometimes there's a movie that's coming out and it's going to be sold out and I got to get the ticket ahead of time and boom, I have fucking Atom Tickets. It's so easy. I can do it right from my phone. I can do it from my computer. I can do it anywhere. Atom Tickets, the most navigatable website. Also, it goes through IMDb. What the fuck are you waiting for? Use atomtickets.com. Thank you very much. Boom.